the Illusive Quartet. We formed, originally Chris and myself worked here playing on a Tuesday night about how many years ago? About 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
At least 6 years ago, yeah. There's a long time. And it was about 16 I met Dave on a recording job, and we kind of brought ideas together. We did a gig here ages ago. And it's kind of been our home. The Looking Glass has been the band's home. Everyone's kind of been very centred around this project.
So spiritual.
Yeah. I've been here for 10 years. And it's been a long time. It seems like a long time. But it's gone really quickly. Just got it. So we just brought the band together. We didn't have a bass player, and I was using my left hand quite a lot for bass lines, and decided to just use it like a Hammond organ player on a gig, and piano in the right hand. And then we just drew the band together and we called it the Illusive Quartet because it sounded like 4 of us, there's only 3 of us. So every bass player out there was because we're still in the work, not your bass player.
Well, it's definitely influenced. Yeah, for sure.
We play things how we like to play it.
I suppose that we've got we like a bit of a big powerful standard kind of, it can be really go from the sublime to the ridiculous from an arrangement point of view. We sometimes find an arrangement we like by improvising it, and then sometimes it sticks with us and then we just play from that. We'll try not to play too many of the same things over and over again, because of course you've got a similar crowd or people around hear the same standards over again, so we try to play a lot of different things, but there are favourites that we like to play because the ones that have stuck with us for years, the arrangements. Some nice versions of some standards, and it's like we draw inspiration from just different players that have done that and play standards in a different way, to not hear anything played in a restaurant or somewhere. It's just to play them in a slightly different way, and in some cases play them as straight as a standard, because you may not have the crowd that probably want to listen to too much more rap stuff at the time. So you just adapt to what's going on.
I kind of just fell into it, to be honest. I play lots of different styles of music. I think jazz just gives me the freedom as a drummer to express what I want to do. Talking about arrangement, sometimes we don't have an arrangement as such. We just kind of, there's a flow and we just go with that. There's not many instances, especially in Leicester, where I can do that. So that's my
Expecting the same, really. Straight away, jazz, also playing all sorts of music. But jazz allows you to express your emotions a lot more than most music.
I think, that's the same. It's the same as well. I just fell into it as well, like at college, because we went to did our A-levels at the same college in Wigston in Leicester, under the direction of one man called Brian Hutchison, who was kind of, he led a lot of jazz on a lot of the players, because he played a lot of jazz when he was younger, and he was big time into the cool scene of the kind of 50s. Modern jazz scene. He kind of put it on this, and there was a guy from Leicester big band called Mike Smith as well, who was really influential to me because he would give me recordings, and I think for me jazz was, because I was improvising already as a kid, and my piano at home playing stuff from my dad was still playing piano. I used to listen to stuff like Art Tatum and stuff like that being played in front of me live by his hands kind of thing. And it was like that's kind of stuck. Fats Waller, anyone like that, you know, any Gershwin and stuff, Rhapsody in Blue, all those chords stuck in. And when someone showed me it, was like, I don't really know about jazz, and then suddenly the kind of penny dropped, and I was listening to Bill Evans, and it just didn't stop really from that point onwards. I want to hear more, just keep listening to stuff every day. Don't stop.
I'd say it's a great way to, compared to say pop music, where it creates like an emotion or a feeling. Jazz create that feeling, it's like one art. Keep going.
We did employ like textures and colours and sound. Stretching the timing of things, you know, whereas you couldn't really get away with doing that in a say pop situation.
Like rehearsed bands.
Yeah.
It's freedom, and you'll never hear the same thing twice, which is wicked about it, because every performance you go to is unique. That's the great thing about it, and I think people would really like it if, you know, if they dip their toe in the water, you know. Some of the gigs I went to when I was younger, and I took friends that weren't into jazz, and they came out beaming smiles at me because they'd never seen it. And like someone the other day came to a gig of ours and said, I've never heard jazz before, and we've just been playing funk with the kind of like jazz lines in it. And I only thought that music was about the Arctic Monkeys and someone else. I was like, this is wicked, great, you're broadening your horizons a bit more. So you know, so I think it's great because it is a platform that a lot of music's meet. Everybody has their own different taste in genre, and jazz has somehow linked up with most of all those genres. So there's always something that someone will relate to in jazz because it's come from that thing, and also everything that's come out of popular music's come out of jazz and dance music, social dance music as a whole. So yeah. I think there's a lot of people doing their own thing, shedding in different places, and sometimes it's not always heard about. We were talking here at the Looking Glass about 2 weeks ago at a meeting at Leicester Music, which was heavily like a rock presence, and it was very heavily centred around indie and stuff, and kind of I broached the subject about jazz a couple of times, and it was kind of glossed over, and it's almost as if people don't know about it because it's not. No one has a platform to say anything about it really big time, so that everything that's going on in the city gets a say, just as much as an indie gig or the Dave Comedy Festival, for instance, which has Mount Planetary, which is surrounded by posters here, which is cool, but it's a company called the company that pay for all that stuff. So I think in a way that there needs to be a better website that dedicates its time to actually updating regular gigs, and that has an RSS feed to another site which is just a generic music site. And I think as well there needs to be, for a lot of the big gigs that happen at say the Y, I think it would be really nice to have like a local band play as a kind of warm-up or as a house unit for a lot of players, because yeah, okay, a trio or quartet comes as a rehearsed pre-packaged unit and it does the job perfectly and people go very massively happy. But I think it would really help local musicians to have that platform to go and play somewhere like the Y or, you know, Embrace Arts before someone comes on, you just go to a spot, and it would make the night even bigger. I've been to places like Birmingham where you go and see a big act play. We went to go and see EST there, so there was a local saxophonist that played before his trio. And it was great because it was local musicians adding to the international thing that was going on as well. So I think that would improve it. And also communication between the campus involved. And kind of a festival would be great as well, because we haven't had one in the city since 2001, 2000 I think it was. 2000, so about 14 years we haven't had a jazz festival. So it would be really nice to kind of put on a festival in the city that is there for people to see, that's in their face when they come out of Flying Market, H&M and whatever, and they come out of the High Cross and the capitalist cathedrals and so forth, and they see something which is free and enlightening and it's making them dance somehow. They don't know why it's making them dance, but it is. And it's a positive thing, I think, because it's massive. It's not just tippy-tappy restaurant background stuff which comes free with your dinner. It's so much more than that. You know, it's definitely, we should embrace it in the city as you.
I think there should be more. I think a lot of cities with colleges seem to have a better music scene, a better jazz scene. But Leicester's been flat-footed. Music college.
There is something. I think the thing is with jazz music, it kind of it sort of almost forces you to be individual in the way that you play it, even if you're taking influences and churning them out. Just the fact that you're not the person doing them in an original way is a great thing to sort of encourage. But you know, I mean, the music colleges that we've got in Leicester, as great as they are, it's all about sort of kind of rock music, and you know, which has got its place. But it's just churning out almost kind of clones. I mean, you're always going to get that thing with young teenage kids that want to play as fast as possible and as loud as possible. But you know, there's a lot more that we can do with music.
It would be nice to say, because I mean, like when we were at college, we had, when the Arts Council funding was coming in, when Labour was in there, and the money was being poured into schools to bring jazz musicians to do workshops, and that's how we met a lot of players that inspired us. I mean, I met Julian Joseph when I was 15, I think, and he showed me my first ever proper jazz blues voicing at Richard Apple Centre, and it was a day of, there were two bands with a workshop situation, and we both got really positive feedback and you know, improvement points which were vital at that time for our play. And I think it should be kind of like, there should be, you know, a bit of a taste of jazz input into education, because you know, it's going to inspire people's minds to open up a lot more than just following the sheet. And that's the great thing about it. It's not just on your iPhone and there it is. It's like it's something completely that technology hasn't got a touch on, unless it's been influenced in some form of performance piece. You know? So I think it's great, because then individuality, like Dave said, it's important, because as a musician you have to have that to put your stamp on it. And I think jazz is great, because then it embellishes all the ideas that a musician has and puts the stamp on it massively as yours.
You're kind of encouraged to do that.
Yeah.
Genres.
Yeah. I suppose with the fact as well, with being like treated like, almost like some places treat jazz like classical music, and it's got this ridiculously massive hierarchy. And I think a lot of youngsters are probably shied away from it, because they probably see it as something that's quite middle class now in this country. And
it's the establishment.
The establishment, exactly. You know, and it's always been like that. And that's the thing. I think what this trio likes to kind of like counteract that. We like to play in a place like this where random people in the drum, they come in and they say, well, that was really nice, I didn't expect anything like that to happen. It's nice to see. So I think the surprise is nice for education, to bring a workshop into like a big band, you know, a situation whereby improvisation is led, how to build a solo, how to build dialogue. It's important as a musician, and you can go off and play loads of different types of music if you do that. You know, not just jazz, you know, it teaches you massive discipline, doesn't it? You know, listening and looking. So that's what I'd like to see, is more education, more money put into education. That's what I think. Crystal ball, we're on that. Ticking over nicely with, I think I'd like to see us playing at festivals. We do see it during our summer afternoon.
I think we're all happy with what we're playing, but there's a bit more exposure.
More exposure.
Maybe, like I say, with the education, you can
do some more workshops, massive workshops in schools.
Albums?
Albums, yeah, possibly. We've not.
It's time, but yeah, we've all got our own lives.
Recording is kind of strange, because you know you're trying to capture the moment.
Right.
Obviously, it can be done, but you try and
do record some gigs.
We do, yeah. Like you say, it's not what we're about. It's more spur at the moment.
Yeah, to be there to see it. It's definitely.
We would like to
Yeah. I'd like to do a tour as well. Especially you guys. So every first Thursday of the month they're looking at Leicester, and play it from 9:30. And the Donkey as well with the got a little trio. It's good to see us. It's good to see us. The doors are always open coming up. We are the Illusive Quartet, and you're watching Leicester Jazz House TV.